right. Welcome if you're just joining us. A couple more people coming in here. I'm glad that you were all able to make Zoom work. Technology can be challenging, I know. Hopefully everyone can hear me. All right. So, as I said, this is being recorded, which is why you're all muted. Oh, more people joining. And so for the first 20 minutes or so, I'll just keep you all on mute, and then we will figure out how to unmute everyone for the discussion part. All right. So my name is Madeleine Lowry. I am originally trained as a nutritional therapy practitioner. Oops. And more people, sorry. It is kind of silly, whoops, that I have to do this. Admit each person one by one, but this is the way Zoom works. It's either that or a passcode, and I found that passcodes are, sorry, I'm trying to click buttons on Zoom without touching the main part of my screen, and I can't figure out how to make this thing go away. Okay, there we are. Okay, so I was saying, Madeleine Lowry, trained as a nutritional therapy practitioner and now practicing as a certified MAP method practitioner, which is a form or a method of advanced neural retraining. And as a nutritional therapy practitioner, I was working with a lot of clients that had chronic health issues. That was my focus. Sensitivities, foods, chemical, environmental sensitivities, as well as chronic health issues. Nutritional therapy is kind of a functional nutrition approach, where we use diet and lifestyle and supplements and things like that to address chronic health issues. So that was kind of my background, my training. And then I learned a basic method of neural retraining, and I was fascinated by it, but it didn't work for everyone that I was teaching. And so I trained in an advanced method of neural retraining, the MAP method. We'll talk more about that at the end. But anyway, once I did that, my practice completely changed. So though I'm trained as a nutritional therapy practitioner, I don't practice that anymore. I haven't in several years. So I have that knowledge, I have that background, but now my practice is 100% working with the mind, the subconscious mind, as well as the conscious mind, and helping people with chronic health issues. All right, still more people joining us here. So today's topic, we are going to talk about why sensitive people are just more likely to develop chronic symptoms, chronic conditions, and, why that is and what you can do about it, right? Sorry, a couple more people here. Okay, so why don't I get started? So we're going to talk today about the subconscious mind. We are going to talk about who is sensitive, right? What am I talking about when I talk about the sensitive person? We're going to talk about why sensitivity, or being that sensitive person, seems to predispose us to chronic illness. We'll do a little assessment, so that if you are new to these concepts, you can start to discover for yourself whether this may apply to you or not. And of course, I'll talk about how advanced neural retraining can help. So the kinds of things that I do with clients day in and day out. And then some resources for self-care. All right. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the subconscious mind, right? So most of us are familiar with our conscious mind, right? I'm pointing to the the frontal cortex here, right? Mostly this is what we think of when we think of the mind. We think about that part of the brain that can memorize a phone number and help us solve the crossword puzzle, the part of your mind that is capable of logical, rational thought, that makes decisions. We often think that is the mind. But in fact, the conscious mind is only about 5%, 5 to 10% of all brain activity. 90 to 95% of all brain activity is in the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind is a little bit of a black box, right? We don't have access to it the way we do the conscious mind. But it's important to understand because the subconscious mind runs all the functions of the body. It always has. The subconscious mind is capable of processing 40 million bits of information per second. Your conscious mind can handle about 40 bits of information per second, making it 1 million times less powerful than your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind has access to all memories. Everything you've ever experienced, tasted, seen, heard, right? Anything that you've experienced is encoded in the mind as a memory, even if you don't consciously remember it. So with lots of people that say, oh, I don't have a lot of memories from my childhood, is that going to be a problem? No, it's not a problem because your subconscious mind has access to all of those memories. There is no sense of time in the subconscious mind. We talk about like, oh, that thing, that event, that happened a long time ago. I don't think about that anymore. You're talking about your conscious mind. Subconscious mind has no sense of time, and anything from any point in your life could still be playing and replaying, in a sense, in your subconscious mind. This is what I call a subconscious, these kinds of things are what I call subconscious sources of stress. Now, the other thing you need to know is that all behaviors, emotional, mental, physical, you can think of a symptom as a physical behavior, are based on memory structures. Structures of memory, right, that taken together form a learned response, a conditioned response. And the subconscious mind has a self-healing capability. And this is what we work with in MAP sessions. When I do sessions with clients, is we're connecting you to that self-healing capability to achieve a number of different goals. So, who is a sensitive individual? In that category, I would put highly sensitive people, HSPs, and also empaths. What is the difference between those two? Well, a highly sensitive person is, exactly that, someone who is highly sensitive to information, information from the environment, including other people's emotions, right? They're highly sensitive to that. They can pick things up. They can observe things, notice things that maybe aren't so clear, aren't so noticeable by other people. But empaths take this one step further. The empath is someone who can not only feel the other person's sadness or pain, but we actually make it our own. It becomes replicated in a way in ourselves. And so an empath is someone who is sensitive to a different level. And they often don't understand that they are doing this, that they are taking on someone else's pain or sadness or anger or whatever it is. Now they're emotional And there are physical empaths, and some people are both, right? The emotional empath will pick up other people's emotions. Again, they feel them intensely, like as if they are their own. The physical empath can pick up other people's symptoms. You're at a cocktail party, you start talking to someone, start feeling a headache coming on. Where did that come from? You move away from that person, or you leave the party, and the headache goes away. You are picking up someone else's information. You think of it that way. Now let's talk about the role of trauma, right? Because it took me a long time to kind of figure all this out. So trauma is instrumental here. It is relevant here because especially early life trauma, but really all, through the continuum of life. I'm not going to say it's all childhood trauma related, but especially trauma that we experience at an early age, it seems to take that sensitive person. So if you have any tendency towards sensitivity, trauma early in life seems to heighten that. It seems to just break you wide open to being more unboundaried, maybe you can think of it as, to other people's emotions, other people's information. So there does seem to be that relationship, and I see this all the time with my clients. So why does emotional sensitivity predispose us to developing chronic illness? I'm not saying that everyone who's sensitive develops a chronic illness. I'm just saying that it is a risk factor. And the reasons are many, but I'll just talk about some of the main ones. So one is emotional enmeshment, right? So you're that sensitive child growing up in a household where maybe there's emotional chaos, or someone has uncontrolled anger, or there is abuse, alcoholism, pain. That sensitive child, starts to take on the pain of their parents, right? They feel it as if it is their own. That's where the enmeshment begins. Because as a child, you don't know that you are independent. You think when you're having this experience of feeling their pain so intensely, you think that you are them in some way. And so these children often become enmeshed to someone in the household. This results in poor boundaries, as I just described. There isn't, when you're that young, there isn't an understanding that boundaries would be healthier, would be helpful here, would improve your experience of life, allow you to focus more on who you are, your own authenticity, right? Highly sensitive children tend to be overly responsible. They can become the parentified, they can kind of take on parental roles within the family. It's way beyond what a child should take on. Highly sensitive children are prone to self-blame, right? Because when we are young, I would say 0 to 6 years old, that's kind of how we relate to the world. Again, you don't, until the age of 2 or 3, you don't even really see yourself as an independent being. And so anything that's happening in the household, if you're being treated badly or bad things are happening, we tend to take responsibility for that as if it is due to something about us, right? I must be bad, right? They're treating me badly. That must mean that I'm bad. That's just how children think. They aren't sophisticated enough to recognize that there are other factors at play, their parents' emotional limitations or frustrations or struggles are not a reflection of them. So this leads to patterns of self-denial, right? The sensitive child is, highly perceiving and also believes that taking care of everyone else's needs out here in the family, the people around them, is more important than being connected to how they themselves feel. So they dedicate much more sensing power, to assessing the mood of everyone around them, making sure that their needs are met so that there can be more peace, right? More stability in the household. And this, as I said, leads to patterns which are not beneficial for us, including repressive personality traits like the peacemaker, the conflict avoider, the people pleaser, the chameleon, the person who becomes whoever they need to be to satisfy the needs of the person that they're with, the overachiever, the perfectionist, right? These are all personality traits that require that we kind of suppress, that we stuff our true feelings, our true needs in favor of taking care of everyone else around us, because that is how we found our security. And so, one way to look at illness is the body finally at some point saying no, right? You can't keep doing this. That phrase, you may recognize it. It comes from the title of the book, When the Body Says No, by Gabor Mate. Perhaps some of you have read his book, know of it, or seen his movie, The Wisdom of Trauma. He talks about how chronic illness can be the body's way of saying no when the person cannot, right? That's another one of those repressive personality traits. The person who the helper, right? The person who can't say no. But all of the repressive personality traits that I mentioned are just different forms of saying no to yourself in a way and saying yes to everyone else over and over and over again for years, until there is a kind of breakdown. So we talked about highly sensitive people. We talked about empaths. I came across this Empath Self-Assessment in a book by Judith Orloff. The book is mentioned down here, Essential Tools for Empaths. She is a physician who specializes in working with and caring for empaths. She herself is an emotional and a physical empath. It's a very interesting book. This is a slightly modified from what she has in the book. I've added to a little bit, but essentially, you can look at each of these traits, 20 traits, and give yourself a point for every one that you can say yes to. If you score over 15 points, that is a strong indication that you're probably an empath. If you score between 10 and 14 points, and that indicates moderate empath tendencies. And in her book, Essential Tools for Empaths, Dr. Orloff is talking about self-care for empaths, right? Sort of the things that you can do to take care of yourself, to manage yourself better so that you can be as healthy, as independent and free and healthy as possible. So I'll just read through these quickly for anyone who, I don't know if you can read them on your screen. So I'll just read them for you. So number 1, very sensitive, shy, or introverted. Number 2, overwhelmed or cries easily. 3, arguments or yelling make you feel ill. 4, often feel I don't fit in. 5, drained by crowds. 6, overstimulated by noise, lights, smells, nonstop talking. 7, food, chemical, or other sensitivities, irritated by scratchy clothes or other, everyday irritants. 8, can't tolerate too much socializing, big parties, long events. 9, overeat at times to cope with stress. 10, afraid of being suffocated by intimate relationships. 11, startle easily. Oops, sorry. You have to close that. Okay. Number 12, react strongly to caffeine, medications, other things, other stimulants. Number 13, low pain threshold. 14, sensitive to the phases of the moon. Number 15, absorbs other people's emotions, stress, or symptoms. 16, not capable or overwhelmed by attempts to multitask. 17, replenished by nature. 18, need time alone to recuperate after being with difficult people. 19, very intuitive, may have premonitions or intuitive dreams. 20, cry at movies, can't tolerate high drama, horror, too much action, or too much TV or radio news. Okay. So I will talk very briefly about advanced neural retraining and how it can be helpful for sensitive people. I mean, really, awareness is the first thing, right? So that's what I'm hoping that this talk will offer. But for people who recognize that they are sensitive, they are struggling with chronic health issues, or maybe anxiety or depression, there are benefits for working with that subconscious mind. And the subconscious sources of stress that I was talking about. First of all, when we work with the subconscious mind, we have an opportunity to change emotional, mental, and behavioral patterns. That is essentially what we are doing in MAP sessions, which are the sessions I do with clients over Zoom. Often in sessions, we become aware of our patterns. Sessions also can help us to neutralize emotional intensity around past events and traumas. Those things that you may think, oh, I've dealt with that. I don't think about that anymore. But on some level, your subconscious mind is still hooked on those events, those traumas. Never really fully got over them, never really fully processed our feelings about them. We can find and change decisions made as a result. I'm not talking about conscious decisions. I'm talking about subconscious decisions. Decisions that are no longer serving us anymore. Like trying to take on other people's pain as a way of maybe winning their approval or their love, their attachment, right? Gabor Mate in his book, When the Body Says No, talks about the two primary human needs. One is the need for attachment. One is the need for authenticity. What we find with sensitive people is that often they give away their authenticity in order to have attachment. And that is often made at a very young age. If it becomes clear that we need to promote healthy boundaries, this can be done working with the subconscious mind in a quicker, more efficient way than just working with the conscious mind, right? It's one thing to know, I should let go. I should disconnect. I should not take on all of this stuff from the people that I in my family or that I am in relationship with. But it can be another thing entirely to be able to actually do that. In sessions, we can change deeply held beliefs, right? Like, there's something wrong with me. I'm broken. I'm worthless. I am not worthy of health, or whatever that may be. Again, you may not realize that you hold these beliefs, but when we start working with the subconscious mind, these things pop up. We can also reinforce positive new beliefs and behaviors in place of the ones that we ask your subconscious mind to resolve. And another thing, that I work with clients on regularly is enabling them to take back their power, right? What I talked about before about attachment and authenticity. Often, we are giving up our authenticity in order to in some way try to gain the approval or the acceptance of others. And when we can recognize that we are doing that, when we can undo the patterns that created that, the traumas that encouraged us to go in that direction, when we can connect to a feeling of acceptance and approval within, then we can finally, make changes that allow us to live in a more healthy way. So what is the MAP method, right? If you've never heard of this before, most people have never heard of this before, it is the latest energy psychology technique. You may have heard of EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, right? Tapping on various acupressure points, right? You may have heard of EMDR, or eye movement desensitization and reprogramming. These are the energy psychology techniques from the 1980s. The MAP method is the latest generation of those. It's only been around for about 6 or 7 years. It's only been taught for maybe 4 or 5 years. There may be 150 to 200 certified practitioners in the world, and most of them are outside of the United States. Because it seems like outside of the United States, there is more of an appetite for, more of an understanding of the connection between the mind and the body. In the United States, we're kind of lagging with that because of the tradition of Western medicine and the emphasis on, dealing with physical issues through physical means. As I said, in each session, we work directly with the subconscious mind. Actually, I, as a practitioner, I like to work at both levels, the subconscious and the conscious mind. So we are kind of doing both in a session. These are meditative sessions. This is not hypnosis. This is more of a meditative practice. That you can think of each session as kind of a series of little meditations that I take you through. And we'll identify a subject and I'll ask you, okay, focus on this memory, an example of that issue that you described that you want to work on. And as you meditate, as you relax, breathing slowly, deeply, and gently with your eyes closed, and I start to give your subconscious mind some instructions, things just start coming into your mind. Memories, people, words. You may start to feel sensations in your body, right? These are all, it's your subconscious mind revealing its programming. And so this is what we work with in sessions, the feedback that you give me after each little round of meditation, maybe 5 or 7 minutes of sitting quietly and, listening to me give these instructions and just noticing what comes up. As I mentioned, this is a self-healing process, right? The practitioner is not doing anything for you, to you, and they can't make anything happen faster. We are facilitators. We are helping you to recognize your patterns. We're helping you to have insights. We're kind of creating the conditions for you to be able to do that for yourself. And then, with whatever comes up and whatever whatever comes up for you, whatever you realize you may have been doing that you no longer want anymore, we can help you to neutralize the old patterns and replace them with new patterns. Again, this happens through a set of sessions. I like to say MAP is not a miracle. It is a process. Usually the first 1 to 3 sessions, we're working on an emotional level. After that, we seem to get to more of a mental behavioral level. And somewhere around session 5, 6 or so, this is very individual, of course. I'm trying to just give you an idea of what I generally see. That is where we start to see changes on a physical level. So to learn more about this, you can visit my website, TC, that stands for Twin Cities, neuralretraining.com. There are videos on the homepage. I'll quickly show you what that looks like, that explain more about the science behind the MAP method. The second video on the page shows QEEG studies of brain activity during a MAP session. And there is a video of a demonstration MAP session being done for a client on a phobia. So you can watch that as well. Could hidden stressors, so we've been talking about hidden stressors in your subconscious be a factor in your health issues? I created this kind of assessment or quiz to help people start to connect the dots with what happened for them early in their life, say before the age of 21, and the personality traits that they may have observed in themselves, the kinds of health issues, symptoms they have had in their lives, and the stressors that were present on the onset or maybe the worsening of those symptoms or health conditions, right? So I can paste this into the chat if anyone is interested in. Well, I'll have to figure out how to copy that in case anyone is interested in doing that assessment. And then, there are free courses on my other website, mapforhealth.us. And also there is a podcast that you can watch. So 1 second, I'll just quick share that so that you can see if you are interested in learning more. So this is the TC Neural Retraining website. I just want to show you. This is the first video that describes the science behind the MAP method. This is the second video. It's a brainwave study done as client is receiving MAP instructions. And this third one is a demonstration session for someone who has a fear of flying. Also a link to a podcast that explains more about the history and the applications for the MAP method. And then you'll notice here at the top, there's a podcast link. So if you're interested in any of the podcast episodes, these are very helpful. You can hear my clients talking about what they experienced through a set of MAP sessions. The frequently asked questions tab takes you to a set of, I'll show you, videos where I answer frequently asked questions about the MAP method. So there are 3 of these in total, about an hour of me answering questions about the MAP method. All right,